Hello, welcome to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education and Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and local partners, Sprocket Innovation in Paducah, and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Episode 186. So we are looking at the news of the day. I always share this when we start. The goal of looking at the news of the day is what can you learn? What nugget can you take out of each of these stories that can help keep you, your family, and your business just a little bit safer in cyberspace? That's the goal. That's what we try to do. So hopefully that helps. And with that, let's just dig into some of the news that's out there. First, this isn't necessarily new, but I do think it's worth noting that there's a top class action website, a website that just tracks the top class action lawsuits that has happened, and there is a lot of activity in data breaches. So if a company has a data breach, a class action lawsuit is typically being filed of late, and there's been a lot of lawsuits filed because there's been a lot of data breaches of late. Some of the class action lawsuits that have seen settlements are listed at the bottom of the screen. Group 1001, MCG Health, Carvin Software, U-Haul, Nissan, Nationwide Vision, Correct Care, Nevada Restaurant Services have settled. And if you scroll down a little bit more, Ticketmaster has a lawsuit. AT&T has a lawsuit. There's a lot of them that have happened. Now, the reason I point all of this out is not to highlight these companies, but it is to look at why these lawsuits are happening. It's not because they had a data breach, which obviously if they didn't have a data breach, they wouldn't have had a lawsuit. But the reason the breaches are happening is because all of these things are that these organizations failed to properly adequately safeguard customer data. So it becomes, what is adequately, what is properly, what safeguards are enough? Well, if you go back 10 years ago when Target had a data breach, the reason that they had, if my memory serves me right, the reason that they had to settle in some of their lawsuits is because they actually said, basically, they knew they had a problem and they didn't do anything about it. The idea back then was that if I don't know anything, I can be blissfully ignorant and all's good. That's not the case anymore. You're expected to audit your network, to review your network, to make updates to your network, to follow industry frameworks, to use best practices, to continually update and safeguard the data that's on your network. If you're not doing that, then you're not adequately safeguarding your customer data or protecting your network. So if you have customer data, then that's going to be a problem. All these suits are really focused on that fact. And I think it's worth noting, and I spent a lot of time on this article just because I want you to know that if you don't have this continuous cycle of protection and improvement, then you need to do more for your organization. And if you want to know what that looks like, maybe we'll talk about that next week, but also reach out to me and I can point you in some directions. Another one that I thought was interesting. Meta has agreed to pay $1.4 billion to Texas over facial recognition photo tags. So Texas has a law, Capture or Use of Biometric Identifier Act, and Deceptive Trade Practice Act. But basically, the Attorney General in Texas filed a lawsuit against Facebook, against Meta, for Facebook's use of auto tagging based on facial recognition AI to tag photos. That is something that a lot of organizations have done. It specifically violates a law in Texas. Texas went after them. They settled. It wasn't as much as Texas was looking after, but $1.4 billion, at least to me, seems like a lot of money. So that was interesting. Texas is also going after Google for, if I remember right, it has something to do with the data that they're tracking, geolocation data that they say they're not tracking, but they're collecting some of that data through third parties. My point with these two, with this article, and even mentioning Google, is that there's a lot of data privacy laws that are starting to take place. Kentucky passed one this year. There's a lot of other states that have data privacy laws, whether it's facial data, whether it's biometric data, whether it's geolocation data, whatever it might be. My recommendation to you, if you're an organization and you collect any type of information from your customers, not only should you be safeguarding it, as we just talked about, but you need to make sure that you're complying with your laws. Now, if you'll know, Meta is not just in Texas. Meta is also in every state in the country, and I guess probably every country in the world. So not only do they have to comply with Texas law, they have to comply with every state law that where they operate and every country where they operate. So if you're collecting data, not only do you need to ensure that you're following the proper laws in your state and your country where you're based, but also where you operate. So anyway, this gets a complicated space, and you certainly want to have some experts on your staff that can help ensure that you're following and complying with all laws. Now, did Facebook know that they were doing this? I don't know. Maybe. Is it worth it for them? I don't have any idea. They got caught, so maybe it's not as worth it as much as they thought it would be. But anyway, something that you certainly want to keep an eye on. IBM and the Podium Institute every year does a data breach, cost of a data breach, and this year the average data breach cost $4.8 million to the company that was breached. $4.8 million. Now, this is super large companies and small companies. This is all across the board. This is the average. So the bigger companies that have a higher cost are going to drive that number up. So if you're a 10-person company, obviously 4.8 is probably more than it's going to cost you. But what is worth noting is that this is 10% higher than last year. It's last year was 4.45 million. Now it's 4.88 million. So it's gone up. If you look at since 2018, it's gone up. What is that? 25%? More than 25%, maybe. That it's gone up since, in the past 8 years, 6 years. The cost of a data breach is going up. That is significant. What's also significant is where, what is happening, what is occurring. First of all, 82% of data breaches that they looked at actually included cloud data. So I've said this before, there's so many organizations that, it's on the cloud, I don't have to worry about that. Well, it is part, because you have credentials. If you're not using zero trust, then that's something that they can, have lateral movement across your network and access your cloud. That's something that you have to be concerned of and make sure that you're doing. Last thing I'll touch on, I didn't get as far as I wanted. Facebook ads. This article came out yesterday, the Hacker News. Facebook ads lead to fake websites stealing credit card information. If you're on Facebook, ads are all over the place. And you have to be careful. You have to be careful. These ads on Facebook may or may not be legit. Now, Murray State uses ads. Real companies use ads, but there's also fake ads. As I always tell you, and I tell anybody that wants to listen, you have to be careful and err on the side of skepticism. If an ad looks too good to be true, the ad that you see on the screen, it's not $160, it's only $19.99. Is that really something that somebody's going to do? Either it's a fake product or it's a fake company. But you have to be careful and make sure that you're doing your due diligence and trying to stay safe in cyberspace. It's just, there's so much going on in today's world that if we don't take the extra step, the extra time to just be very, very careful, then we could open ourselves up to something that we don't want to be part of. Anyway, thank you for your time today. I hope you found these interesting. We will be back next week. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you next week back here on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.